Okay, so we are live. Um, Allison, I feel like we need to get some sort of theme song to start this show,
Right.
Like, ta-da,
Something.
welcome to the
Yeah, there's
virtual
it.
speaker series. That'd be fun, right?
I'll think about that over
Um,
the weekend.
yeah, that would be good. That would be cool. So we're gonna wait just a couple seconds. Okay, we got our first viewer, so we're gonna get started. So, welcome everybody. This is our fourth show episode of the virtual speaker series. I'm here with Josh Sella. Josh is a vice president of Providence Equity. Is that right?
That's right.
And you're based in New York City.
I'm based in Manhattan. That's right.
Okay, great. So I'm Paul Gazone, one of the associate principals here at Oceanside High School. Here with Dr. Glickman Rogers. She is the principal at our awesome Oceanside Middle School. And Josh, just so you know, we like to keep it light and relaxed over here. So please refer to myself as Paul and Allison as Allison, okay?
Good.
Before we get started, I have to give a quick shout out to our Board of Education member, Mike D'Ambrosio. I missed him yesterday, so I'm going to get him in now nice and early. So thank you for attending our show. And you know what? While we're at it, Charles Wang, thanks so much. Thanks for being part of this. Great to have you. All right. So for our viewers again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to use the comment field. And I think it's the right side of your screen. If you have a question, we can highlight it and we'll let you guys guide the discussion. So Josh, vice president of Providence Equity, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean, and what do you do? And let's just talk about that.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. Definitely excited, especially during these crazy work from home times. It's good to get some interaction with everyone. So basically, I'm on the investment team of Providence Equity, which is a private equity firm. So what does private equity mean? The way I'd think about it is if you've seen the TV show Shark Tank, it's not too different than that. So I'm like
Sure. I think we've all seen Shark Tank here, right?
Yeah. So
You've
like
probably
think
done
about
it in school in some ways.
Exactly. So think about the investors, Mark Cuban, Mr. Wonderful, Lori Grenier. What are they really doing? They're sitting and listening to companies and CEOs come and pitch their businesses. These businesses are looking to grow and expand, and they need money to help them do that. So they're looking to the investors to help come and support them, provide money, and help them get to the next level. So that's very similar to what I do. I basically meet with companies and management teams and CEOs across the country and try to make a decision on what companies and what industries we want to invest in. And there's a lot of
when you talk about CEOs, can you just define what a CEO is?
So a CEO is a chief executive officer. It's basically somebody who runs a business. So it could be the entrepreneur, the person who founded the business, or it could be somebody that has experience, running and working at companies, and they're basically in charge of the operations of the business. They manage the entire employee base, and they manage the direction of the company, its strategy, and its vision for growing in the future.
Great. Yeah, keep going.
So just to give a little bit more context about Providence. So Providence is a little bit unique relative to other private equity firms in that we only invest in certain industries. And there's 4 areas. For us, we only invest in first, media, entertainment, and sports. Second, education. Third, telecom. So think about the AT&Ts and Verizons of the world. And fourth, software. And then some of the companies that we've invested in, just to give you guys more background or context that you might be familiar with, businesses like Hulu. So, I'm sure many of you guys are streaming and using Hulu, just like Netflix and other services. Topgolf. So anybody that's been to a Topgolf driving range, that's one of our companies that we've invested in. PADI. So anybody that's gone scuba diving, you need to get a certification. They're the company that certifies. And then Major League Soccer. We partnered with Major League Soccer to help grow their presence in the U.S. I just want to give folks a flavor for some of the types of companies we've invested in.
So, I mean, you just dropped some big names, right, Al?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you must be a really big company. So, how big is your company? How many people do you work with? How much money are you guys worth as a company? Al, you're talking about Major League Soccer, Hulu. I mean, you're talking big brands.
Sure. So Providence has 3 offices. It's based in Providence, Rhode Island. That's where the founders grew up and lived most of their lives. We also have the office in New York City, which is where I'm based, and we have an office in London. What we're in charge of is a fund of money to go invest in these companies. Our current fund, it's big. It's $6 billion, and it's funds that we raise from endowments of colleges, from insurance companies, other high net worth individuals. And we're basically tasked with taking that money and finding good companies to invest in. And on the investment team, of which I'm a member, there are 60 people, and it's about equally split. So there's 20 in New York, 20 in Providence, and 20 in London. And we are supported by a big team behind that of probably 100 plus people that deal with back office and finance and HR related issues. So it's a pretty big company. Our fund is $6 billion, and the types of investments or types of deals we do, we usually look to invest at least $100 million into every company that we do a deal with. So it's a little bit bigger than what you see on Shark Tank, but the underlying nature of the activity, analyzing companies and investing, is similar.
Well, I guess that's my question. I mean, what kind of skill set do you need? So you bought in, or you're supporting Hulu. That's like a company you're working with, but why Hulu? And there must have been others that you said no to. So
Sure.
To make that kind of decision, what kind of skills and training did you need to say, like, let's go with Hulu, but not with this one? Like, what goes into that?
Totally. We're very selective. So I'd say we probably meet with or get information on maybe 1,000 companies for every one deal we decide to do. So we are incredibly selective. We try to look for industries that have interesting trends that we think are going to, only continue and grow in the future. So, for example, movie theaters. Maybe that's not an industry we want to invest in because that's under a lot of pressure from streaming services like Netflix and Hulu and YouTube TV that everyone's watching and using. But think about something like esports, right? So a lot of people are playing video games. A lot of people are streaming. That's a pretty interesting sector. So we might look harder there and look for interesting companies that we can invest in there besides movie theaters. In terms of the skill sets, a lot of it comes down to you have to do analysis. So you have to be good with numbers and understand, what these companies are worth and try to understand how much money they're going to make and what we should pay for that. And then there's also sort of a softer side. We actually have to meet with the CEOs, the management teams that run these companies, and get comfortable that we trust in them, that they know what they're doing, that they're going to be good managers and operators of the business. Because at the end of the day, we're partnering with them. So it's a mix of, you have to be good on the analysis side, good with math, but then also have good people skills, be able to communicate and read and understand how they're going to operate the business and how we're going to partner with them.
That's great. I mean, we're always talking about kind of concrete skills, but, sometimes we forget that the soft skills such as collaboration, communicating, interpersonal skills, those are super important. I mean, if you were working with somebody that didn't have, or someone would you invest in somebody that didn't have those skills? Maybe they had a product, but they didn't have those soft skills to make you feel comfortable. Would that be something that you'd be interested in, or would you have like major reservations?
It's tough. I mean, look, a great business with a great product or idea is one thing that's important, but it really comes down to the people, the people at the company that are going out there and selling the products to the customers and that are setting the vision for what they want to invest in and develop in the future. So for us, we have our mantra is that the management team is just as important as the industry and the company and the product. If we don't have confidence that the management team either has experience operating and doing well with companies in the past, or they haven't demonstrated to us why they're going to be good going forward, that will give us pause. And we've walked away from a lot of investments where we didn't feel confident that they had a good management team or good employees at the company to take it to the next level with us.
Cool. So I want to give a quick shout out to my man James. So he's thanking us for doing this all week, and you know what, James, we're here for people like you. So keep coming back. I appreciate it very much. And since you gave us a shout out, well, I'm gonna highlight one of your questions. And I guess Josh, he's asking you're working from home like all of us, right? So how's that? How are you dealing with that, right? You're interacting with people. How's that going?
Look, as everyone knows, these are certainly crazy times. It's been an adjustment. So my office has been closed for the last 2 weeks. We're going to be closed for the foreseeable future. So we're certainly in this work from home mode right now. It's definitely been different. We're still trying to meet with companies that either we want to invest in or companies that we're already partnered with. And we're doing a lot more video conferences like this just to kind of check in with the companies and the teams and see how they're doing, if there's anything we can do to help, if we can be supportive to their employees during this tough time. So It's been unique, but we're just trying to kind of stay connected using, virtual conferences to, again, continue to meet companies and meet teams, and then make sure the companies that we have are doing okay. But everyone's sort of, figuring out together day by day.
And kind of like what we're all doing right here, actually. So there's kind of some parallels there. So I want you to think back right now, okay? I want you to think back to middle school. Okay, I started middle school, and think about your experiences and some of the things that you did there, and how do you think the experiences at the middle level and potentially as you moved up to the high school level, essentially your 7, 12 school, like what helped you decide, like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, and put you on the track to that path?
Sure. So, I mean, look, to be honest, when I was in middle school and high school, I didn't know exactly I wanted to go work in finance and work in private equity. I think at that stage of my life, I knew that I liked business and I liked the markets, and I would kind of follow the stock markets a little bit. I'd read books, and I kind of knew that this was maybe a field that I wanted to, learn more about or explore, particularly in college. I'd say from the middle school and high school perspective, because I had this interest, I certainly, took more math and statistics related classes. If I could, I tried to get involved in different clubs or activities outside the classroom that I thought would be helpful. So I actually think the club's still around, something called DECA, which is
still around, 100%.
Yeah, so a bunch of sort of business related competitions and events where you're either taking tests, you're coming up with business plans and pitching your ideas or solving problems. Those were good experiences that I thought, helped me in the business field that I am today. And then look, back when I was in middle school and high school, there was a couple of business or finance classes about the economy. I took those. I'd say, that became certainly more relevant when I, got into college. But I knew that I wanted to go to a college that had a strong business program or finance degree program. So that's sort of what I was figuring out in middle school and high school.
Mr. Gazzone, the week before, I was in 8th grade social studies workshop classes, and the students were first learning about the stock market. Well, they learned about historically the stock market crash, the 1900s, but the students were now learning how to play the stock market game, and their learning target was, what kind of strategies would you use when purchasing stocks? And their students were kind of investigating on their own and making their own plans for purchasing stocks. So there might be students that go through that experience this year or next year during middle school, and their interest might be piqued. They also might have a knack for it. They might have employed some, good strategies that have helped them to be very successful, even though it's just a game. But that might be just a good indicator of a talent or a strength that they might have and something they might want to pursue, and they could end up in a career like you.
So to actually draw some parallels, I think, just from the stock market game to someone who might be really interested in that game, which is a really cool game, to what you do, right, Josh, is that in the stock market game, you have to really invest in the company and say, hey, are we projecting that they're going to do well? If so, how much we're going to put into it? But that's what you do in real life. Except you don't buy stock, you buy companies, or you invest in companies. Is that right?
Yeah. So the one difference is there's other industries or businesses like hedge funds or stock traders. They're actually buying companies that are publicly traded, meaning they trade on the stock market. That's a little bit different than what we do. We invest in companies that are private, and we're investing money to partner with them. And we actually have a seat at the table and talk to the management teams to figure out how to grow, versus if you're just buying and selling stocks, that's a little bit different. You're not necessarily talking to the management teams and helping them, grow the businesses and come up with strategy. But the underlying skills are pretty similar.
Cool. So I'm going to ask one of our questions here. Ben Strauss wants to know, what is the hardest part of your job?
That's a good question. So, look, I'd say two things. One, it can be a stressful, it can certainly be, a stressful job at times. Like there's late hours, it's hard work. There's a lot of analysis. So there's certainly a lot of late nights and sometimes working on the weekends to try to get deals done. And then there's also a little bit of stress around making sure that you're picking the right companies and doing good deals. As I said before, we're investing other people's money, so they're putting a ton of trust and responsibility in us to get it right. And we definitely don't want to pick a bad company or pick a bad management team or industry and do a bad deal, because that looks really bad on us and we're costing other people money. So that's why, we are really careful about the deals that we do. And that's why we look at 1,000 businesses before we pick the one or two that we want to invest in, each year.
How do you learn from, I'm sorry, Paul, so I'm assuming not every decision is a perfect decision.
Nope.
What do you do when you make a mistake? How do you learn from that? How do you use that data to better inform your future decisions?
Sure. We definitely try to learn from our mistakes for sure. So if, we try to understand or do kind of an analysis of if a deal didn't go well, why? Did we, just get the trends in the industry wrong? Or was there an issue with the company or the product? Or was the management team not ready or capable to, grow the business to the next level? And whatever we learn, we kind of use that to inform on the next deal, like look for similar patterns or look for similar trends and things we should avoid or be careful about going forward. If we did a deal in the healthcare space, for example, like a technology business in the healthcare space, and that didn't go well for us, honestly, we're going to be less likely to do a deal in that space going forward versus if we did a deal in the sports space, like when we invested in Ironman for folks that have done the triathlons, that went really well for us. And then as a theme for our company, we decided we like live entertainment businesses a lot because they have good brands and people seem to like those experiences. So we try to follow trends and themes that have gone well for us and replicate that success.
Okay. So Matthew Lee is asking, what qualities do people look for when hiring? So if you're hiring someone to be part of your team, or if you're not hiring them, you know you're going to get someone to be part of your team. What are the characteristics and qualities that you think are important for that person to be successful?
Yeah, first and foremost, a strong work ethic and positive attitude. Again, the job can require late hours, weekends, stressful decisions. You want to make sure you're working with teammates and people that have a good attitude and are fun to be around. So culture is really important. Second, I think it's important to have strong math skills, being able to be comfortable doing calculations and doing analysis that involve numbers is really important. And then third is, again, that softer side. So having strong communication skills, both verbal and written. We have to be able to speak with and interact with these companies and ask them questions to learn more about their business and really try to understand if it's going to be a good investment or not. So being able to communicate effectively is important. And then in terms of in writing, every deal we do, we have to pitch that internally to a committee of people that ultimately make the yes or no decision. So we have to be able to take everything that we've learned when we're working on a deal, package that into a PowerPoint or a Word document presentation and kind of make our case, make our pitch as to why we should do a deal and answer their questions. So having really strong communication skills is critical in addition to doing the math and the numbers.
Okay, great. So we have a couple new viewers. I like to shout them out when they come on here. So Joanna Palumbo, haven't yet shouted you out. So thanks for being here. Board of Education member Seth Blau, thanks for being here. And Josh Strauss, also, thank you for being here. So Joanna's asking, you haven't talked about this yet, right? And this is important, right?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy your job?
I do. So I've been with Providence for 6 years. I've been working in finance for 8 years now. I really do enjoy it. I love being able to travel around the country and meet all these different types of companies in the industries that I really like and learn about their learn about their businesses, why or how they think they're going to be successful, and then make the decision to invest or not. And the sectors that we get to cover are things that I find really enjoyable, right? I'm a big user of media. I'm on my cell phone all the time. I'm watching TV. I'm using the streaming services. I play video games. I'm a big sports fan. I go to live entertainment venues, and these are the sorts of businesses and companies that we get to meet and invest in. Some of the names I mentioned, those are fun companies to be a part of. So I really like that experience, getting to meet those businesses and travel and hear their stories and make the decisions on whether to do the deal or not.
Okay, awesome. So Karen is a new attendee. Karen, thanks for being here. Her question is, what are common college majors for the industry?
So for me, it was really important to go to a school that had an undergraduate business program, or at least had a good set of finance classes. And that was everything from accounting classes to classes on the economy to classes on statistics and other mathematics related classes. Those were important. I'd also say, though, it's important to be well-rounded, right? So I would also take classes that were, focused on government policy or international business and cross-border relations, because a lot of what we do, even at Providence, is looking at companies that are multinational in nature, not just U.S. focused. So kind of having that broader international perspective was really helpful. So those were some of the classes that I, gravitated towards or tried to take when I was at college.
Okay. If you could go back to middle school, what would you do differently in middle school and then maybe even high school after that? You lived your middle school. Seem to be doing pretty well right now. But you always look back and say, if I did this, I might be, better off, or I wish I developed this skill set. For me, it was, I wish I took my world language more serious when I was in high school. I wish I could speak a second language. And I guess if I'm going and saying growth mindset, that I still could do that, right? But I haven't gotten there yet. But for you, what would, what would that be?
So what I learned in college was that internships or actually getting work experience was really valuable. It's really helpful to see what it's like, whether it's working at a restaurant or a store, or working for a family member's business in an office. Like, it's just helpful to see what it's like to be in the real world working for a company. I didn't do as much of that in middle school or high school. I certainly got involved in clubs, and I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to other countries. But I didn't really get my first, quote unquote, work experience until college. And if I had a chance for a summer to do an internship, that might have been valuable and might have been helpful versus, going to the next basketball camp and still thinking I could make it to the NBA one day. That was probably not a realistic dream. So I could have probably used that time better served to get an internship and see what it's like to actually work somewhere and, earn a paycheck and interact with other team members.
Cool. I had the question, it slipped my mind. What do you remember most about middle school, and then what do you remember the most about high school?
I certainly remember this is less about how it impacted my career, although there's a little bit of a tie. I certainly remember all the fun times I had.
It's all good.
I certainly remember a lot of the fun times and friendships that I had. People, frankly, that I still keep very close contact with, even 10 years plus since high school. And it just goes to show, I think, and this is important in business too, like when you meet people and form friendships and bonds, keep those people close to you. They can be helpful in your personal life. They can be helpful in your career with giving you good advice. So, I definitely formed some really good, close friendships in middle school and high school that I've been fortunate enough to keep in contact with. Not everyone does that. As you get further and further out from high school, your group of people that you still connect with from that past gets smaller and smaller. But try not to let that happen. Stay in contact with people, check in with people, especially if people are in different jobs and careers from you. Like, that's really important too. Like, I don't want to just have a group of friends or people that just work in private equity or just work in finance. Like, I have friends that are cops, that are roofers, that work in technology, that work in education, like you, Pablo. So it's good to have that sort of broad base of people around you that you can get a lot of advice and life perspective from on a personal, professional side.
Cool. And I'm going to bring up Charles Wang, right? So what do you look for, Josh, in a company, right? So at some point, students are going to have to make a decision on when they leave K-12 education. They're going to either have to go to college, and then they're going to have to pick and choose a college, or they're going to go to work and they have to pick and choose a place to work, right? So I think, yes, it's important that we understand and know that we have to be accepted and apply to a job and get one. But at the same point, isn't it important also what we value? Don't we want to work for a place that shares a similar vision and similar value and just on the same page, right? So like, what is it that, why this company? Why do you like it? And, what are some of the things that you look for?
Sure. So first, and you're touching on this, culture is really important. Right? You're going to be spending a lot of time with your colleagues or fellow employees, and you want to be at a place that you feel like has similar values or morals to you, that in this case, I felt like Providence was a very family-oriented culture. It was people that were really smart and they worked really hard and had a good track record. They had been successful for a long period of time before I joined. So I knew I was going to be surrounded with people that I was going to learn from and that were going to push me and challenge me, which was great. But it was also people in my conversations with them and others that I knew were at the core good people. Like they tried to strive for a good work-life balance, were good, had a good culture and mentality of being considerate and not working people too hard and kind of making sure that you develop well. So that was first and foremost really important. And then secondly, when I knew that I wanted to go into finance and private equity, I wanted to be at a company that invested in the industries that were really interesting to me. So for me, I'm not as jazzed up about investing in healthcare businesses or aerospace and defense companies. I like investing in media and entertainment, education, sports. That resonates with me because those are things that I deal with or use every day. And Providence has a track record of investing in those businesses and doing it really well. And it makes it more fun to be investing in companies that I either, use their products like Hulu. I've been to, the Topgolfs. I watch the Ironmans on TV. Like, it's fun to invest in stuff that you know and that you enjoy and personally like.
Mr. Paul, yesterday we had some of the middle school guidance counselors were commenting, and they reminded us that in 7th grade we do the a personal inventory and group guidance, just kind of looking at some of our character traits, some of our strengths. In 8th grade we look at our intelligences and multiple intelligences, our learning styles. So just listening to Josh speak, I want to remind the middle school students, as you become more self-aware of your strengths, of certain character traits, of your learning styles, the combination between having good interpersonal skills and social skills, as well as a knack for, math and analyzing data, this could be a career path for you. Sometimes in middle school, we don't exactly know where our strengths and our characteristics and our learning styles might take us or lead us in the future. So it's helpful to hear that this is a career, someone with a skill set like Josh, this might be something you're interested in pursuing.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to wrap up soon. I'm just going to ask you 2 more questions, and one's going to focus on what Josh Strauss has to say, but I'm going to spin it a little bit. Sorry, Josh. So the question is, what was the biggest thing you did? I'm going to ask you a tougher question, Josh. What was the biggest mistake or failure you made in your job, and what did you learn about yourself in that process? I know, tough question.
So
over here.
No, it's a good question. Honestly, I think so. When I was first starting out in private equity and in finance, it was 2009 and 10 when we were going through the big recession, right? So it was a really stressful time in the world and the economy, and a lot of companies were struggling. So I had to work on deals that had been done before I got there that were really struggling at the time. Companies that were either running out of cash or just feeling a lot of pressure, honestly, similar to what's going on right now. And, for me, it was really about staying level-headed and focused on not getting too stressed out and thinking that, things are completely falling apart. There's no way we're going to get through this, but trying to stay patient, stay level-headed, and work with my employees, work with my companies to figure out, okay, let's game plan. Like, what can we do to help our companies get through these really tough times, both near-term and long-term, to make them more successful when we come out of something like a recession, or in this case, coronavirus. And there were certainly days and nights during those early days where I was very stressed and not sure I was doing a good job, because it didn't seem like anything I was doing was helping these companies get better or helping their employees feel more secure. But you have to have patience. Investing in businesses is a very long-term horizon game. It's not like things go well in a matter of a month or even a year. We invest in these companies for 3 to 5 years at a time. And that means that you're going to have ups and downs, and you just got to be patient and level-headed and not overreact one way or the other. When things are great, don't always assume they're going to remain great. When things are really stressful and bad, like they are now, don't assume that's always going to be like that either. We'll get through this. We got through it in 2009 and 10, and I learned a lot during that time frame that I'm applying to my job, my life right now.
That's
I'm
great.
sure a lot of people are going through that too right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And thank you for kind of ending with that, because I think that's a message that we all have to kind of resonate with right now. Just be positive, right? Difficult times for everybody. But I think if we stay positive, then, good things are going to happen down the road. It might not happen tomorrow, but they're going to happen, right? So with that, Josh, we're going to close out today's virtual session. All right. I'm looking forward to next week. We have Louis Irianis coming. He's a litigation lawyer from California on Monday. On Tuesday, we have Jay Fielder, Oceanside grad, former NFL quarterback. So we may even have a guest commentator that day. We'll see. All right. So enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys soon. All right.
Have
bye-bye.
a great day, everyone.
Thanks everyone for the great
Bye,
questions.
middle school students.
Bye, high school students.